Hi, this is the video recording for our reading class today. We're going to continue to talk about some strategies to deal with vocabulary when we run into words that we don't know in our reading. And as I've said before, really the worst strategy to use when we come across a word that we don't know, at least the worst in terms of building our vocabulary over the long term, is to go straight to a dictionary. Because as we've talked about, when we go straight to a dictionary, we look up a word, the word goes into our short-term memory. And then the next time we encounter that word, it's unlikely that our previous experience will still be there in our memory because it will have disappeared after just a day or two or a few hours. We've talked about other strategies. What we want to do is we want to find a way to get the vocabulary word, the new word, to go into our long-term memory. And the way that we do that is we have to play with it a little bit. We have to mess around with it. We have to make some guesses about it. And we've talked about two strategies so far for doing that. The first one is to use the context of the word, look at the other words around it or the other sentences around it, and make a guess what it might mean from the context, the other words. The second strategy we talked about is to use Greek and Latin word parts. Not as easily used a strategy because we have to build our knowledge of Greek and Latin word parts, usually the work of years, but no reason why we can't begin to learn them right away, and we talked about some ways to do that. And this is the third strategy that we're going to use, and this has to do with what the word looks like. What other words does it remind us of? Can we make a guess about what the word means based on what other words it looks like or reminds us of? So let's take a look at our handout here. Let's at the top I say, now sometimes what a word looks like can give us some clues about what it means, but we have to be careful. It doesn't always work. Sometimes a word that looks very familiar and we can make a guess about what it means doesn't mean that, especially if we're dealing with words that come from other languages. So for example, take a look at these three. So the first one is embarazada. That's a Spanish word. If we were to see a word like that in our reading and try to make a guess about what it means, it looks kind of like embarrassed, right? But that doesn't mean embarrassed in Spanish. It means pregnant. It means pregnant. The second one here, bras, or looks sort of like bras in English, like a woman's undergarment that she wears. But it actually, in French, it means arm, your arm. And this last one, gift, looks like a present of some kind, but actually in German that means poison. So what a word looks like isn't always going to be a good guess about what it means. Sometimes things like that happen in English too. However, remember, when we're playing around with the word, when we're making a guess about it, in order for the word to go into our long-term memory and stay there and be useful to us in terms of building our vocabulary, we don't have to guess correctly. We can guess incorrectly. And nevertheless, if that incorrect guess is there in our long-term memory, it's there the next time we see the word in a sentence. And the next time we see the word in a sentence, we'll say to ourselves, oh, wait a minute, I remember that word. I thought it meant this, but look, that doesn't work in this sentence. And we'll change or refine or adjust our understanding of what the word means. The next lesson we're going to do day after tomorrow is a lesson where we'll see how, when we see a word over and over and over in different sentences, we can build our understanding, refine our understanding, adjust our understanding of what it means. But if we just went to the dictionary and looked it up, it wouldn't be there the next time we run into the word in another sentence because it will have gone away already. So we need to capture that experience of playing with the word so that that experience is there the next time we see the word. All right, so let's look at some of these words on our handout. Let's skip the first one and go down to the second one, ingenious. Ingenious. Let's see what we can do with that. All right, so if we think about the word ingenious, what word do you see in there? What word is there in there that makes you think of another word? And you might say, well, I see the word genius in there, right? And what's a person who's a genius? A person who's a genius is somebody who's very smart, right? Very intelligent, very clever. So because we see that word in there, reminds us of smart, intelligent, clever, then that might make us think that this word has something to do with being smart or clever. And that would be a pretty good guess because ingenious means smart or clever. Like he had an ingenious idea. He had a very smart, he had a very clever, he had a very intelligent idea. Okay, take a look at the next, now turn the paper over and let's see ingenious in a sentence and see what we can do. So look at number 2. The sentence says, the plan she dreamed up was ingenious. The plan she dreamed up was ingenious. All right, now let's think about our strategies that we've practiced using this word. If we try to use the context of the word, the other words around it, that's not really going to help us in this sentence, is it? Because in this sentence, there's really no context for us. There are no clues about what that word could mean. It could mean anything in this sentence. It could mean the plan she dreamed up was ridiculous, or the plan she dreamed up was not useful, or the plan she dreamed up was fantastic, or the plan she dreamed up was anything. It could mean anything because we really don't have any clues in that sentence about what this word means. So if we are using our Greek and Latin word parts, we might know that in means not, and that would really mislead us here because then we would think this must mean not smart, right? And G-E-N is a Latin root. I can't remember at the moment what it means, but we would look at this and think this means not whatever that is. That would be very misleading. But remember, again, even though we guess incorrectly, doesn't matter as long as we capture that memory in our long-term, capture that experience in our long-term memory. But if we think about this third strategy that we're talking about, then we think this looks like smart or intelligent or clever, and we can make a guess that ingenious means smart or intelligent or clever. The plan she dreamed up was very smart, it was very intelligent, it was very clever. Okay? All right, so take a look, turn the page over, go back to the next example. Let's take a look at the third one down. Instantaneous. Instantaneous. Now, what word do you see in there. What word does that remind you of? Do you see the word instant in there? And what happens when, what does it mean if something happens in an instant? It means it happens right away, right? Or immediately. Right? So we can make a guess because we see this word in here that we know, that looks familiar. We might make a guess that something that's instantaneous might mean right away or immediately. So we can look at the sentence on the back of our handout, and we see her reaction to her comment his reaction to her comment was instantaneous. So it happened right away. It happened immediately. His reaction happened right away or immediately. Okay? All right. All right. We're going to stop there. We'll come back in a minute. We'll try a few more. All right?